Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tuong, the now not live stream show. It's now a weekly show where I get to connect with friends all around the world and, talk about pop culture and a single movie. And I'm so excited today because we have not one, but two guests, friends that I haven't seen in a hot minute. It's been a long time, but who we have today is Evelyn, Barber, and Lindsay Todd. Hello.
Woo! Hey, Tom.
Ooh, I get a woo. This is great. Evelyn and Lindsay.
I will not name them, but.
Evelyn and Lindsay, how the hell are you? It's been a hot minute. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
It's been so long that I started a countdown, not a countdown, what's it called? A tally of quarantine days on a chalkboard in the living room, and I gave up after 20.
I just have
Oh my God.
Cat People by David Bowie stuck in my head, been so long.
So that's the way of saying that. We're great.
You're great. You're doing well. Yeah. Tell me about quarantine life. How's that treating you both here? How are you getting by?
Well, Tom, I have taken up running, and I feel like my days are just me cooking food and then eating it.
And running. Evelyn, are you a big runner? Were you a big runner before?
No.
Well, good for you for staying active. I don't like running myself. I'm a baby. It hurts my feet. That's my reason. Yeah. Lindsay, Are you running now too? Is that a thing?
I have run a few times. This was all sparked. We watched Brittany runs a marathon.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And we're inspired. I was inspired for a day. No, I did run yesterday. I've also been trying, but it hurts my body.
Hurts so good.
I get bruises on my ankles and stuff when I run too long. Yeah. I think, I started going to, or I did, a chiropodist, and now I have these special insoles that are hundreds of dollars, and they're supposed to help. But I don't know. Running's just not for me, but good for you, Evelyn.
Also, I love the word chiropodist. Oh. I never heard that word in my life.
Oh yeah, it's spelled CHIROPODIST, so I always called it a chiropodist, and that was wrong for a very long time.
That's exactly how I would have pronounced it.
And you're both baking these days? Is that what I'm hearing? You're making gluten-free and non-gluten-free baked goods. Am I hearing that right?
Yes. I myself, Lindsay, I cannot partake in the gluten or dairy, either of them. I can't have them. So I've been taking some time. I've never really baked before. I realized that this was when I was mashing or beating the batter. It's called beating the batter. This is showing how much I bake.
This is the technical term.
This technical term. I mean, we have been watching the Great Canadian Bake Show, but we can go there later. It's so great. Watch it.
Okay.
But as I was doing that, I just had this moment standing alone in the kitchen where I was just like, wait a minute. I've never baked cookies from scratch by myself before.
But now you have.
But now I have twice. Or 2 times, and they were massive batches. I made 36 cookies each.
Now we need Evelyn. Have you tasted these cookies? Now you can be honest with us. How are they?
They're good. I really like them. I gave one to my mom, and she said, "That's really rich."
Oh, perfect. That's a great compliment.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great. And what do you aspire to bake by the end of this? Hopefully quarantine doesn't last forever, or for much longer anyways, but if you had all the time in the world, what is the thing that you're like, I need to bake this? This is the number one thing I want to be able to make.
I'm going to make a vegan pot pie, this week, probably.
Wow.
So vegan gluten-free pie crust, here I come.
Wow.
It's because she loves me.
Yeah.
And you're making bread? as well? Is
You know,
that a thing?
I don't
Did I hear that
like
right?
Talking Tongue, to be honest. But yeah, I was like not with Lindsay for a few days, so I thought I would make all the gluten. Although
And
I started a sourdough starter because you're basic, and I do
everybody's
like,
doing it.
I know.
Everybody's doing it.
I do like watching things ferment and froth. That does excite me.
That's how you pass the time, is
Wow.
you watch the jars
Yeah,
and the things inside the jar ferment.
I may not be developing during quarantine, but yeah, it is.
Well, it sounds like you both are doing as well as could be, and honestly, it sounds like you're still self-improving, whether that's baking, running, and watching great Canadian Bake Off. Am I hearing this right? Or
Yes.
Oh, yes. Season 3 is hosted by Aurora Brown and Carolyn Taylor.
A very
Yeah.
good song sketch.
oh, cool,
So good.
and it's worth watching. Is this on Netflix?
It is.
I feel like, not to spoil anything, I feel like I would have rather have watched that, but let us continue. We'll talk about the news of the week here. And like every week, I have lazily put together some news stories that I just pulled from IGN.com. And we could talk about them, unpack some of them. And I honestly this was like 10 minutes ago. So let's just go with that. Hey, how do you feel about a Hunger Games prequel? Because that's happening.
Oh,
Okay.
a book or a movie?
This is a movie. Now, I'll be honest with you. I have not watched any of the Hunger Games movies.
Me neither. I read some of the books.
I have seen all of the movies.
So does this excite you?
No.
All I know is I don't know what this means. So you tell me. Hunger Games prequel about young President Snow announced with Mockingjay director.
Interesting.
Uh-huh.
I'm also trying to remember who the actor is that plays Snow.
I should have looked this up. I saw this and I'm like, maybe they'll have an opinion about this.
No,
No.
I don't know. I honestly, that's kind of also telling about how I felt about the series. I don't really remember most of it.
Yeah. I read 2 of the books of the 3 and I stopped there.
Who is it? Evelyn is looking at, Donald Sutherland.
Oh, Donald Sutherland. Okay. Sure. No interest.
No, I don't.
He's Canadian.
Why are they making a movie? I guess it's a villain backstory or something.
Oh, is he the villain? Is that the thing?
Yes, he's the villain.
Okay.
So I guess it's
All right.
Trying to flesh out him a little bit. Yeah, a prequel to we know how that ends.
Yeah. I've never to this day heard anyone be like, you know what? We really need a prequel for this. Like, people are hungry for the backstory of this random character. It's never a thing. People don't care. People don't care.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, I always think it's a bold choice to start a prequel series of a successful trilogy. Like, I don't know.
Don't care. Next.
Like,
yeah. Well, remember when they made 3 Hobbit prequels to Lord of the Rings? I was like, wow, that's ambitious and not needed.
yeah. Why you should quit while you're ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Now, speaking of prequels, I'm going to talk about a sequel. I watched this movie. I didn't think it was very good, but it made a ton of money, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Did you ever watch Venom with Tom Hardy?
No, but I love Tom Hardy.
Hey, listen, I love Tom Hardy too. Tom Hardy can carry a movie, in my opinion. He's the only redeeming thing about Venom. That movie made so much money overseas and in the world. It made just a stupid amount. So the sequel is now called Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I'm not sure how much about comic books you both know, but
I am
Carnage.
that there's someone named Carnage.
I think that's a character.
Yeah. And well, here's something that you might not know is Woody Harrelson is playing Carnage.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it is.
No.
It's. I'm gonna spoil the post-credit scene to Venom for all of you, I guess. But Woody Harrelson plays what's his name? Something Cassidy. Oh, my comic book cred is definitely going down. But anyways, Carnage is a psychopath who's in jail, and he has red hair. Now you have to picture Woody Harrelson wearing a red-haired wig, and it's very, very weird. Maybe you should Google that, and you'll see.
Yeah,
I am doing that.
Is Woody Harrelson not just a worse Matthew McConaughey?
Have you watched True Detective?
I have, yeah.
They're both in that together.
They're both in it, yeah.
And it's actually really good.
Yes. I would say that's the only good True Detective, although I didn't see the season 3, so I don't know.
We just saw the
Okay, so you're looking at the wig?
Yeah.
It's a look.
Yeah.
It is a work.
It's a look. So I want to move on to, let's see here. There is Scooby.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just called. I think it's called Scoob with an exclamation mark.
Yeah.
The reason why I want to bring this up is there hasn't been a Scooby-Doo movie in forever, and the new animated one looked charming. It has a fantastic cast. In fact, I'm gonna list those people right now.
Okay.
Will Forte as Scooby-Doo's best friend Shaggy.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Wahlberg, Jason Isaac, Gina Rodriguez, Zac Efron, Amanda Seyfried. Who else? We have Ken Jeong, Tracy Morgan, Frank Welker, and that's the cast.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. So with that cast, this movie was supposed to be released this year, and now in fact it is, but it's going straight to video on demand. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense for the climate now, but I did know that this movie was coming out because before all of this COVID storm happened, worked at an independent theater. And I remember receiving the movie poster for it.
Oh, sweet. So you have a Scoob movie poster lying around.
Well, I don't have it at my house. It's at where I was working. But I was like, new Scoob movie. And I love Scooby-Doo.
I love Scooby-Doo too. Yeah, although I watched some of the new animated series that was on Netflix, and they all have a new thing. Like Fred's thing is traps, and Daphne's thing is being in unrequited love with Fred. So
weird.
Velma
Classic.
and Daphne.
Hell yeah.
Have a moment.
I ship it.
No way, really? I ship that too. That's great.
Daphne and Velma is where it's at.
You know what? I also ship that Scooby and Shaggy have a relationship together. Don't know how it works. Just give me a will they, won't they for season 1.
Yeah, it's classic Ross and Rachel, but Scooby.
That's right. The other thing that I want to bring up today is, so I don't play this game, nor do I care about this musician, but I find this is super fascinating. So Travis Scott, very famous musician, did a concert within Fortnite. I don't play Fortnite, but I find it a fascinating thing that they made a concert within a video game, and he premiered it as though it was like a big show, like you would perform outside or whatever. But this was inside a video game, and over 12 million people logged in to watch him perform live within Fortnite. It's just a weird concept to me.
But they do the dances, so they have this infrastructure pre-set up.
Yeah. People are just raving within the video game, I guess. Is that, or they take their drugs at home and then they rave in the video game? I don't get it.
Is it like do you do drugs to listen to this musician?
I don't know. I don't actually listen to Travis Scott. I assume I just assume that everyone that plays Fortnite is doing drugs.
Isn't it for children?
Yes.
a lot of adults do play it, but yes, I think
yes,
mostly teenage people.
A lot of adults play it. I shouldn't be mean to Fortnite.
No, you can be mean to Fortnite.
it made me think that is this where the future is heading? That what if you have, I don't know, Ariana Grande, she shows up in Fortnite and does her entire show within Fortnite. Is that where things are heading?
Well, I don't. Well, I'm having trouble picturing it because it's like a different kind of, I guess, voyeurism where it's you're watching, because is your character in Fortnite while this is happening? Are you watching your character watch a show?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Are you watching yourself enjoy a concert? You're like third person seeing a show.
Yeah, it's like a
that's exactly what it is.
Like a 1970s science fiction author would write about.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's bizarre. Hey, listen, Disney theme parks may not reopen until January 2021. That's big.
That, you know what? I have never been to one.
Oh, well, I was supposed to have my honeymoon there this year at Disney World, and yeah, well, also Florida. We don't get political here very much, but Florida's kind of fucked right now. So Laura and I are like, are we ever going to be able to go to Disney World? But yeah, not reopen until January 21. And then there's this whole whatever is happening in Florida. So I don't even know if I'll be able to go to Disney for the next 5 years. Who knows? It's just a weird time.
Disney Japan.
I'm going to go to Disney Japan. Let's see. Parks.
Oh,
go ahead.
Well, they closed the parks, but before that they did one giant final fireworks show.
Yeah, so, which had like a bajillion people.
Way to go, Disney.
Wow. They just had to. They just had to do that. Parks and Rec is getting a new episode this Friday.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so excited. Yes. Yeah. Honestly, I read the news and I was like, because usually what's been happening is that people from famous TV shows are getting together for, a reunion, but I wasn't expecting an episode of the show, which is what this is. This is a 30-minute episode of Parks and Rec.
Good.
Wow.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Hands down is my favorite. I love that show.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, Lindsay. I say this all the time, but for me, there's two perfect shows. It's Breaking Bad and Parks and Rec. And it's just those two shows go from they start at a pretty good pace and then it just never gets bad in my mind. Just gets better.
Agree. And I'm going to add a third one.
Oh, yes. Do it.
And it's controversial.
All right. Here we go. Friends.
Hannibal.
Hannibal. I've never seen it, so I'm gonna take your word on this.
You like horror though, right?
I'm sorry?
Do you like horror, Tongue?
I am getting better with horror, so I'm saying I don't hate horror. I used to be very scared of it, but now I've been really brave lately, so I think I can handle some horror.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not super like horror. It's gory to an extent. It's more psychological.
Okay, I can deal with that. That's easy peasy.
It fucks up your brain. It's fine.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Fuck my brain. Who cares? But yes, the Parks and Rec episode, it's going to be interesting because it's all, people can't actually record it, but they're saying that Leslie Knope is the perfect voice to talk in quarantine right now as a fictional character to the rest of the world, which I completely agree with. And everyone's kind of filming from home as their character, which I think is fascinating.
I love that.
I'm gonna watch that so hard.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
That's so much.
Two more stories here. One of them is I find this funny because it's interesting how scientists name animals, and I find it always funny when there's nerds that name animals. And specifically, there's this research team from East and Southeast Asia who discovered a new species of snake, and they had to name it after Harry Potter. So it's called Trimeresurus Salazar.
Oh, as in Salazar Slytherin.
That's exactly it. So there you go. Nerds at it again.
Nerds at it. I love it.
I like it too. I like it. I think it's an honor. AMC theaters will wait for new movies like Tenet and Mulan before reopening. So AMC theaters will, basically they're saying that, well, we do plan on reopening, but we want to make sure there's good movies that are playing before opening.
That's a bold choice. to say publicly, because what are you saying to all the other movies coming out?
Yeah,
I know. It's just like, okay, my movies aren't those two movies. I'm sorry.
Also, very curious about Mulan, live action Mulan.
I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm hoping good things. But here, that's the crazy thing, is that movie was supposed to come out like the week. Like, I remember we worked from home, or I did, for like a week, and then Mulan was supposed to come out that Friday, and then they pushed it to July. So I ask you, it's these two movies are supposed to come out in July. I still think that's still crazy to think that everything will be fine by then.
Yeah, I want to believe that, but I'm highly doubtful that things will be at least to that level of being able to really, say, go out to the movies. Maybe some social distancing aspects will be lessened by then to an extent, but I don't think in terms of like large public spaces it will be.
Well, they'll still have things cordoned off, like you have to sit a certain amount of seats away from people, but it's still like, crowds.
Crowds,
Crowds, am I right?
Hate them. Hate crowds.
Who wants them? Who needs them?
Yeah, who needs them? You know what we do need? To talk about Horse Girl. Because this is the movie that you both chose.
I'm just really scared. You're safe, I promise you.
This is crazy.
Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes
sense. Before we dive into this movie, I want to know why you chose this movie.
I think I wrote a selection of like 5 movies, and I asked Lindsay to pick one.
Yeah. And then I said Horse Girl for 2 reasons. Well, and I want to also preface this as like, I don't tend to look into movies before I watch them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to go in blind most of the time.
Yeah.
So you don't watch trailers? You're not one of those people?
No, I don't. And that's another thing. Like, I think trailers these days they do too much. They tell me too much. They spoil it. So I don't like to watch them. But I picked Horse Girl for 2 reasons. One, because someone peripherally I know had seen it and said, well, that's weird. And 2, it's starring Alison Brie. And I really like Alison Brie.
I mean, who doesn't? Everyone loves Alison Brie, I think. Have you
seen Glow?
I've seen the first season of Glow. I liked it.
It's so good.
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped. It was the same thing with Orange is the New Black. And I know it's made by the same like group of people too, which I was like, this is a really solid season 1. I can't wait for season 2. Season 2 rolls around and I'm like, I'm just watching other stuff. And I kept putting it back and back and back. And now I'm like, do I go back? I forget what happens now. Right. It's a whole thing.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing.
I did the same thing.
For those of you who don't know, Alison Brie, obviously very famous for her role in Community, also Glow, and voice of BoJack Horseman as well. Yeah. Well, she's not the voice of BoJack, but of a character in BoJack. Now, I'll tell you what, I did zero research for Horse Girl. In fact, I've never heard of it until you both were like, let's watch Horse Girl. And I'm like, all right.
Let's recommend all the weird shit to me, because that's what I'm into. So
yeah. So I had no idea. Like off the top, all I knew was it's with Alison Brie in it. And that even then I was just like, because Laura had the same thing. Is it with Alison Brie or Brie Larson? Because there's another movie, I think, called Unicorn something.
Yeah, Unicorn Store, yeah.
So I thought it was that movie for a second. And so I was just like, okay, this movie, I'm just going to fill in the blanks of what I think it is. It's with Alison Brie. She's a funny actress. She does comedy. The name is Horse Girl. Maybe it's about this movie, this lighthearted movie about this woman and a horse and how they just, she wants to ride into the sunset with this horse and everything. There's going to be some funny stuff along the way. And I was completely wrong.
Yeah, we should also say a trigger warning for mental health issues.
Yeah, Yeah. So was not expecting any of. Okay, let's start from the beginning here. Horse Girl. Actually, the screenplay was co-written by the director Jeff Baena and Alison Brie. Alison Brie had a huge part in creating this movie. She was one of the producers as well. Same with the Duplass brothers as well. And here's the synopsis that I found on the interwebs: is Sarah, Alison Brie, is an ordinary young woman living a very ordinary life. She works at a craft store, loves horses and Zumba, and watches her favorite supernatural procedural at home every night while her roommate goes out. But when Sarah meets a guy she likes and starts to have a frightening dream, her life upends itself entirely. All right. With that said, let's open up the discussion. What did you two think about Horse Girl?
That is an interesting synopsis.
Her life is ordinary. It's so ordinary that she only has one alarm in her phone, which I think is conspicuous.
Yeah, definitely. She also has a really old iPhone. I noticed that too, which is such a weird thing. I'm like, oh, that's like the iPhone SE. That was ages ago, which wasn't not that long ago.
Right, yeah, because this movie came out this year.
Yeah.
It was a ride, a wild horse ride.
I'm not even sure if it was a horse ride. There was barely a horse in the movie.
Spoiler, she never rides a horse.
Yeah, never.
I liked it.
I did like it. I was in the way that I was entertained and I felt very uncomfortable.
I think that's a very key word. I felt very uncomfortable, which was, I think, what helped propel the movie for me and wanting to know what happened next, even though many scenes I'm just like, oh, I feel very uneasy, but I can't stop watching this thing.
Yeah, I was visibly cringing for quite a bit of it. And it got to a point where I was like, I honestly couldn't even fathom what's going to happen next. And it's just going to go there and I'm just going to watch it.
Yeah.
Oh, I had a theory.
Let's hear this conspiracy theory.
Oh, yes. Conspiracy theory.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah. So we are talking spoilers here. You can stream it on Netflix and come back to the show if you want. Right. But yes.
It was intriguing because you don't get much information. You find out kind of about what happened to her mom and her grandmother through like over time throughout the movie and like what's going on with her horse. But I had a theory that at the end then she would be abducted. I was like, it's all real at the end. She seemed paranoid and crazy, but it's all gonna turn out to be real, or we're gonna enter her perspective.
Yeah, I'm on the latter aspect of that. I feel like we entered her psychosis, and we were seeing things as she saw them over time,
right?
Which is kind of like what happened to her throughout the movie. Which, I mean, I kind of want to like talk about. It's interesting that in the synopsis that you read, it said that it almost alluded to meeting this new guy was like the trigger for things unraveling. But and in a way, I think that actually might be true. And I hadn't thought about that because when we're talking about how like ordinary she seems, I don't know if ordinary would be the word. I think she was a bit odd off the beginning, but she was very preserved. Like she was very like hidden, and it felt like I think she knew that like something was up. Like she's got to like keep it together. Like she had experienced quite a bit of psychological trauma and emotional trauma that she just had to like keep it together, or else she didn't know what would happen. She might spiral out of control. And I think maybe opening herself up to someone new and like actually not hiding away like she used to maybe did open the door to what was to come next.
Yeah.
They also did smoke a lot of weed. And
they smoked a ton of weed.
And we all know what weed does.
Well, the devil's cabbage.
That's right.
No, I think I don't want to down talk weed or anything, but I think it can like trigger dormant psychological things like schizophrenia.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the strain of weed, but yes.
Yeah.
Like how much THC percentage are we talking?
Weed, not all weed. We don't for all weed.
Yeah, hashtag not all weed. Okay, so I'm gonna give my like quick thoughts here, and we can talk. I'm not sure. Like the thing with this movie is, it kind of jumps all over the place, and that's how I kind of feel about talking about this movie. Is because I want to talk about this one thing, this other thing, whatever it is. But I think my thoughts at the end of the day, do I like this movie? And I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think I do. Now, that's not to say there's stuff that I don't appreciate about the movie. I think Alison Brie is a phenomenal actress, and I think she carries a lot of the emotion and portrays, her depression, anxiety, and the way she speaks as someone who starts to believe in alien abductions and all this stuff. I think she has such a great performance, and she really carries this movie on her back.
For sure.
But with that all said, I think the movie is also... I mean, I've heard this said, even Laura said this when we were watching together. She compared it to Donnie Darko, and in the way that, like, there's this weird shit going on, and it's very nebulous of what's going on, and you kind of have to interpret the ending and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, I felt like, at least compared to Donnie Darko, I don't know, the blueprint of what the movie was about and the things I was supposed to think about during the movie was more clear in that movie, where in Horse Girl,
right.
I felt so confused on how I was supposed to feel the entire movie. Like, for me, the entire time I'm like, oh, this is probably all in her head. I also subscribe to not believing into like the huge conspiracy theories that she ends up believing in. But then, doing a little bit of reading afterwards, it sounds like the producers, and including Alison Brie, make you want to think that, oh, maybe it was aliens. You don't know. And I never got that from the movie.
Yeah, I think that it could have talked about mental health in maybe a more thoughtful way.
Yeah.
Something about it
Yeah.
did kind of leave you with like an inconclusive feeling. But I don't know. The last movie I watched was this movie Adaption, which is about what if we made a movie that's not about anything and there's no resolution.
Great.
I really didn't care for that movie. So in comparison,
this movie is an Oscar-winning movie comparatively.
Yeah. And I definitely share a similar sentiment with you, Tung, of like, I didn't know, in terms of like the blueprint of the movie, what it was supposed to be. Like, was it supposed to be a commentary on a specific mental illness?
Yeah.
Was it just like about her and just us just watching her experience? Which is fine. I also teetered between, I didn't really know what the end game was, like what maybe the point of it all was.
Yeah, and the very final scene where she kind of gets lifted, into, she looks like she's being abducted.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was supposed to, like, when the movie ended, I was very, my jaw dropped, because I'm like, oh, that's it. I was like, oh, the movie's over. Okay. Yeah. And I think that part was supposed to mean more, which it didn't for me. And I'm someone who, like, I feel like I'm a person who, like, I love movies. So I look into movies. I try to explore the themes as best as I can and try to understand what the screenwriters were going for when they write a movie. Yeah. And for whatever reason, this movie, it just did not click in those ways. Again, I do appreciate a lot of it, but I just did not understand. I think they were trying to ask me a question at the end of the movie, and I did not know what the answer or could provide an answer.
Yeah, and I feel similar. And like I do tend to watch things with a similar eye to that. And also, on top of that, somewhat related, I have been binge watching a lot of House. I've been rewatching House a lot. So
Yeah.
I was like watching this whole movie, just like diagnosing her the whole time. So
Wow.
I'm sure like that like played into my experience of trying to watch it. So like I didn't really, for me personally, I didn't even have the option of believing her.
Okay.
Given where I was at, whereas like, is not real. And I think I was hoping for maybe a commentary on like psychosis and like trauma-based psychosis or like schizophrenia, and because it, you know, at least to me, was very obvious that it was like a hereditary thing that was going on with her family. Like maybe there's something to speak to that, and like they touch on very briefly like points of grief in her life, like her mom completing suicide, her grandmother, you know, passing away on the street, or never really knowing her dad, and then that alluded to like an accident with someone that she was like, I'm assuming like coaching or supervising them ride a horse, where like they could have spoke to that a bit more and how that might have affected her mental state, and like the coping with television shows, which like a lot of people, I do that a lot. I've been watching a lot of House. And which also I want to touch on. I loved the reference, the show that they called, it was Purgatory, which was, I think to me, obviously a spinoff or like a parody of Supernatural.
Okay.
Which I, as someone who used to watch it, I can definitely consider that show a bit of a joke at this point. It's like 12, 13 seasons deep of the same stuff. That
was a great sequence when she is having sex with her boyfriend, or in her dream state. And then he's replaced by the actor Darren from Purgatory.
Oh my God. Yeah. I was like, wait a second, that's another white guy. What?
I do find it hard to tell white guys in movies apart. The guy from her dream, I was like, is that the same guy? Like, I don't know.
I didn't even notice at first too. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea at first. They look so similar at first glance. That entire sequence too was it was long. It was a long sequence where she has like, you know, she gets out and she basically creates this, what I thought was like a ninja costume out of like a shower curtain. Was it a shower?
It
or like some sort of regular?
The same material that one person wanted to buy from her at her store.
Oh yeah.
It was like the peach fabric.
Yeah, the color was very important.
The color was like protection and comfort.
I think, I mean, so that sequence obviously was a long, extended trip or dream or psychosis. And I think the whole movie is kind of like a ride. To feel it feels unsettling and scary to be inside her mind. And even like the first shot is, you can hear her talking and you just see this blue, and then she cuts it open to reveal herself. And it feels cutting through the fabric of reality and pulling it open.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
The imagery that comes.
I never thought about it at
times.
Oh, we did it! You did it!
You cracked the movie. 10 out of 10.
Oh, of course. On second thought, it was great.
It's conceptual like that.
It's very highly conceptual in that sense. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no answers.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that was frustrating for me is like it almost seemed, I don't know if I think there's a fine line of ambiguity in a movie if they do it in a smart way, not even just a smart way, just in a way that, I don't know, I can keep up with. I feel like, oh, okay, I feel I have a good grasp of this movie, and I'm now capable of creating my own theories about it. And the one that sticks out to me is the movie Arrival, with Jeremy Renner and Amy Adams. And with that movie, there's a lot of time travel stuff too, and there's things that you can interpret, but you feel as an audience member in control of how you can, you know, piece together those thoughts and make your own theories. But with Horse Girl in particular, I felt so it just, the whole movie was, sometimes it just felt ambiguous just to be ambiguous, and I did not like that.
Yeah, it was very disorienting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm okay with the fact, though, that it doesn't really have a resolution and that it does set out all of these things that don't have answers. Like, she wakes up and there's a deep gouge, like scratch marks in her wall, but like she doesn't have any injuries that we can see.
I did see that.
So what did that? But I think that, to me, is part of the experience of being in this fugue state in her mind where she has moments of being lucid and then she has moments of losing time and being confused, and we as the audience members are in that state as well. And you gasped really big.
Gasped because I just remembered that when she like draws her hands across or down the gouge marks in the wall, they're too big for her hands.
Oh.
And those black beings that we see in the white space are constantly clawing at the people. So
they have like huge, tenderly long
That's
fingers.
Weird. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, and what about...
And there were some in the roof of her car, too, at the end.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
I think the lighting was just off, just a little too dark, but I did notice it.
Huh.
Which is...
interesting.
Yeah. I'm also okay with, not knowing some things. The big thing I didn't know was what I was supposed to not know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I missed something entirely or if I wasn't supposed to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the thing is, if they wanted us to think more about this alien stuff going on, I think we could have got a little bit more focus on that, I suppose. And I guess there were so many unanswered questions in the movie that I didn't know which part I should be kind of thinking more about. So the alien stuff for me came so much later than the time skip stuff. And I know they're supposed to be related, but the things I was like, oh, the time skip stuff, this seems very, very important. And then is it? I don't know. There's theories, and Laura was talking about this earlier, but she had this whole time travel theory that I completely, I know they mentioned it in the movie kind of, but I also thought it was I don't know if I should believe her because she's an unreliable narrator.
Right.
And yeah, I didn't even give a second thought to the whole time travel stuff until she started explaining it to me.
Well, and then you do see at the end when she's walking the horse through the parking lot, and then Molly Shannon's character sees the horse again, because at the beginning of the movie, that's what she sees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also when you see in that very long sequence with the pulling of the fabric, you do see Alison Brie's character in her window watching herself pull.
Right.
And you know what they say to wizards who meddle with time? They go crazy.
Is this a quote from Harry Potter? I can't tell.
It is a Harry Potter reference, very loose.
Okay. That's what I thought. I read Harry Potter a few times and I didn't get that one.
It's Prisoner of Azkaban.
Of course. That's my favorite one, and I didn't get it. Oh, not a true Harry Potter fan.
Time Turner. Hermione's Time Turner.
Yeah.
Should we have just read Harry Potter instead?
I'm good.
Before we close out talking about the movie, there's a few more things I wanted to touch on. Did you have any standout scenes that really either you liked or just really bothered you or just stood out to you?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, let's hear them.
I very much appreciated off the top the parody of 23andMe, where they were talking about what was it called? DNA.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's what it was.
Also, my favorite just part of this movie in general was Molly Shannon. I fucking love Molly Shannon.
Yeah.
But just people talking about the ignorance around, just kind of I'm also, this is exactly what she said. I'm 97% Irish and Welsh, 3% Finnish and whatever, And 1%, that's 101%. 1% like Somalian or Senegal. I'm just like, and I loved that a lot. It was very clear to me that they were making fun of that. I also just want to talk about how much of an idiot and doofus her roommate's boyfriend is.
Oh, I hate him.
He is so dumb. Like, that whole conversation about the baker's dozen.
Oh my God, that was a hilarious conversation because literally we were watching, we're like, wait a second, that's not a baker's dozen. Yeah. And then they go into a whole conversation about that.
I didn't expect the whole conversation. I didn't expect to be like validated so immediately.
Yeah.
Because I also heard that too. I was like, that's not a baker's dozen. What an idiot. But then they like drew attention to it. They're like, yeah, actually you're an idiot and that's not a baker's dozen. He's like, it's a concept album.
Lyrics are a highlight for me.
Oh, yeah.
Speech
Oh, God.
Speech increment. Rainbow
oh my God.
Ice cream cone. Every time I speak, it's like a poem.
Oh, boy.
That's so funny because I think the thing that this movie does well is in a lot of the conversations that they have, they can replicate real. It feels very real. Yeah. A lot of the conversations that were happening.
Absolutely.
I think they improvised the dialogue.
I think they did. I also wanted to touch on that. There were definitely moments more in the beginning of the movie when I wasn't like sucked into what's happening. I felt like a lot of the dialogue was actually like between her and other characters was improvised.
It felt like it, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe when she was explaining stuff in the story of what that stuff that felt improvised to me, but like it sounded like it came from her real experience, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I just had a thought, and like for me, I don't know why I'm thinking about this right now, but you know the person who fell off the horse, the other person with the blonde girl, and I guess her friend. I just feel like that whole aspect of the movie. I didn't get to see too much of it. In fact, it felt like I'm not sure how much it added to the movie. I know it's a big deal in the movie for her, but there's just other stuff going on. I don't know. That's one of the parts where I felt like I wanted to see more of. Like, what is the deal with her friend? How did that happen? And how is this really affecting her now?
That's the thing. Because the movie's called Horse Girl. She has horse stickers on her laptop. We never see her ride a horse. And my take was that she stopped riding after this trauma happened. And horses are therapeutic animals. Like, so that's maybe, true. You know, that was something that helped her.
Yeah.
And that could have been helpful to her, and that she kept returning to, and that the horse is the only person that understands me. Me and this horse have the same birthday. We have a bond that can't be understood by anyone else.
I wanted to see more horses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More horses, more girls.
More everything.
My highlight, I think the image that stands out the most to me is, well, first of all, Alison Brie, just something about her eyes when she is in psychosis. She is terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Such a good actor. But her in her like homemade space suit with put up, wielding a pair of scissors is so beautiful and ethereal and like visually iconic to me. Her with the scissors, because she works at the fabric store.
And like we've established, she's about to just like cut through the fabric of reality and time.
Well, she does do that. She cuts through the fabric of her ground, and
she's doing it.
I just that stands out to me, and her waving the scissors around at the graveyard.
So yeah, that scene, that the graveyard scene and the diner scene with just before like the restaurant scene, or her like creeping the other dude from the parking, like those three scenes in succession made me so uncomfortable because it's definitely like, you know, it's such this guy who clearly likes Alison Brie's character, really trying to, you know, find some commonality and try to like be like, oh, I support you. Like, I like this girl. Like, yeah. And then you can see she's taking it the wrong way. And there's like kind of a little misunderstanding that's happening. And then by the time they get to the graveyard and she's like, let's go dig up my mom. It's like, holy shit. It's fucked up.
Biggest bluff caller, Alison Brie.
Yeah. So definitely a power move on her part.
Exactly what that was.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like, I'm in charge in this relationship.
I bet you take all your boyfriends here.
Yeah. And the last thing that stood out to me that was like super uncomfortable too was when she was completely nude in the store, and then she like kind of snaps out of her own like psychosis. I was like, oh my God, that is so, there's a lot of secondhand embarrassment for Alison Brie's character, and you just feel it when she like snaps back into it, and you're like, oh my God, this would be awful to happen in real life.
Yeah. And it's interesting you bring up the secondhand embarrassment, because that's definitely not exclusive to when she's having some episodes. I felt secondhand embarrassment for her beforehand, just in terms of being a little like socially cringy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is just like a through line for the entire movie.
The cringy part being like, hey, you have the same name as this guy in the show.
Yeah.
And at first you think it's cute, and then you see her being like, no, I think it means something. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. Or like making a like lanyard for like the horse on its birthday, and then coming back and being like, hey, where is it? Where's the... And like you could tell that like the ranch owners are like, go away.
Yeah, they're not having it.
And she's just like, hey, I'm back.
You know, it reminded me of Alzheimer's. And maybe that's the way you could interpret it, because she dresses like a grandmother. Oh. She thinks that she is her own grandmother. A common thing with Alzheimer's is that you go back to the memories of when you were young. And so you think that you are like in your 20s or like a little child.
Could have been early onset.
So that's a dark, disturbing interpretation.
Right. The thing that actually bothered me about this movie was like just the Jay Duplass's character, the social worker, when he's just like, yeah, you can go.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a second. She clearly just said several things that she shouldn't probably go. But he's like, you know what? You're good. You're good to go.
I made a note. I wrote it down, and it says Dr. Negligence. And listen, I've been watching a lot of House. No, I'm just kidding. I just experiences with doctors, but that's not even the first time that a doctor has been negligent with her. Like when she goes to see the specialist for her nosebleeds, which I do want to briefly say, I learned something watching this movie, even though Evelyn did tell me before that when you get a nosebleed, you should keep your nose down so that you're not swallowing the blood when pointing your nose up and then getting sick.
I learned that too.
I get nosebleeds. So I did learn that. But when she goes to see the doctor and she's like full on saying all this conspiracy stuff and very clearly is in need of some assistance, she's just like, maybe you should go see this person. And then like doesn't do anything about it. Like write a referral, make sure she's okay. And then, when she's talking to Ethan after being under supervision, and she clearly has no clue how long she's been there, and has only like further solidified her like theories and believes that she's right now. He's just like, yeah, I guess you can just go, and like, here's a recommendation.
I recommend you go across the street. It's like, no, you should bring her.
Yeah, he didn't seem like a very good doctor. I think he was in on it with the aliens.
You think he was the alien?
He's the
or one of them?
Doctor. Also, that doctor gives her a test for COVID. The scene opens with him sticking something super deep inside her nose.
The other doctor, the throat and nose specialist, or whatever.
Wow. This movie was ahead of its time? Oh, it just came out this year. So.
Oh, wait. Maybe he's traveled forward in time to COVID times.
God.
Oh, my God. Is Horse Girl about COVID?
Wow.
Oh. Wow. Any final thoughts about this movie before we wrap it up?
I want to see Alison Brie fucking alien in the sequel.
Oh my God.
Do you want to see a sequel to this movie?
I do want a sequel now, and I want it to be Alien Girl.
Alien Girl?
I want Alien Girl.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Okay, well, if it's called Alien Girl, you know there won't be any aliens in it because Horse Girl has no horses.
We were right.
Oh man. Well, I guess that's it about Horse Girl. One last thing. Yeah, so Evelyn and Lindsay, you would recommend this movie to others.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I would say trigger warning, mental health, suicide.
Mentions of suicide, and yeah.
But if you want to watch something weird, disturbing, conclusive,
and
you know what?
Visually beautiful.
Oh yeah, I love the way it was that.
Oh, and the sound. I want to talk about the sound. Like the whole creepy, like horror movie effects that they have going on is like really good.
Yeah.
Like when she's like lying down and she like turns left and right and sees like the other two people, like that dude and the girl that she keeps seeing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, it is. It does a very good job of making you feel uncomfortable and like unsettled, which I think it aims to do. So it definitely succeeds in that.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd recommend this movie. However, if you do want to see something trippy and you want that, or you want to see the effects of weed, I guess no. I also don't think I want to say I don't think it's a bad movie. Again, there's lots of things to appreciate about it. For me, I was not satisfied I just don't not knowing what a movie is about.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like there was a lot of themes that were almost explored and they're just left the rest to interpretation. You're like, here's a bunch of things, play with it, but I didn't know which parts to play with. So maybe that's on me.
I felt very similar, but I would still recommend it.
Fair enough. I'm happy. You know what? The great thing about Talkin Tuong is that anybody can recommend any movie. And I'm so happy to, because I would never, watch this movie on my own. I wouldn't. And I'm so happy that I get to say, hey, I watch Horse Girl. So thank you for recommending it. And I also like that Netflix and, streaming services are giving indie movies like this a new kind of breath of fresh air, because you would never see this movie in like the big screen.
No. Yeah, I wouldn't. I didn't even think of that. No.
Yeah. It's cool. It's cool to think that like smaller movies can survive again, like these higher concept movies. And for that, I'm appreciative that a movie like Horse Girl exists in today's landscape. It's not like a sequel or some big Hollywood. It's not the Avengers or anything like that.
Yeah. It's good to have art.
Yeah. Give me some of that art. Well, thank you so much, Evelyn and Lindsay. Do you have any plugs? Is there anything that you can plug at these times?
I guess just maybe the same as you, Tuong, just plugging away. We got some virtual shows coming up every Friday at the Making Box, which are free on Zoom, and you can check our schedule at themakingbox.ca.
Hell yeah. And you can take classes now, too.
You can take classes, absolutely. And there are drop-ins and everything. Something for everyone.
Something for everyone. Get back into the world of improv, everyone.
Woo!
And here's my plug. If you are self-isolating at home and listening to this, just give yourself a hug. Wrap your arms around yourself and give yourself a little squeeze and pretend like it's from me.
Or me.
Or me. All of us at the same time.
Group hug.
We're smothering you in a hug.
Yeah.
Actually, that's one of the main things I learned from psychology back in the day in university was that a self hug is still it hits the same receptors as a regular hug. So it's actually a good thing that you self hug yourself if you ever need it.
I very recently learned this and I love it. Please hug yourself, because if you can't hug yourself, how are you going to hug somebody else?
That's right. When COVID's all done, you're going to forget how to hug?
Absolutely.
Nah.
It's going to be
Start training
awkward.
Now. Yeah. Well, everyone, that's it for the show. We will see you next week. And before we sign out, of course, you can check the rest of the shows in the Pod Cavern at www.podcavern.com. Evelyn and Lindsay, do you have a message for the people at home? A catchphrase? Anything?
heebie-jeebies.
Bye, everyone.